Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. What we were discussing yesterday was what are the main provisions which Indian Constitution has adopted in order to ensure free and fair elections in the country. And for that purpose, our constitution makers has adopted adult universal franchise. And besides this, right to vote and right to contest election is given to all the adult citizens of the country. This is what we mean by adult universal franchise. And other than this, what is very much important for having a free and fair election is the provision of election commission, which should act independently and impartially. And there is various provisions in our constitutions which uh, tries to make this commission independent and impartial. Though the chief election commissioner and other commissioners are appointed by the president on the advice of council of minister only, but there are some provisions which ensure their uh, independence. And one of such effort in the direction of ensuring the freedom of the election commission is their removal. And their tenure is of 6 years, or up to the age of 65, whichever is earlier. And they can be removed in between also. But the process of removal is very difficult. In order to pass a removal of the in order to pass a recommendation of the removal of the chief election commissioner or election commissioner, what is required that both houses of parliament should pass this type of recommendation with a special majority. And we discussed in detail what is a special majority. Special majority is the two-third majority of the people who are present and voting. And beside this, there is also requirement of simple majority of all the membership. So it is not easy to pass this type of recommendation, the recommendation of removal of chief election commissioner from both the houses by this special majority. So this the process has been made very tough, so that the ruling party cannot easily remove the chief election commissioner, because if the removal of a chief election commissioner is in the hands of ruling party, then what will happen that there will be pressure on the chief election commissioner, and he will start acting, he will start doing things according to the need, according to the interest of the ruling party. So in order to make the commission free of the influences of the ruling party, these arrangements have been done. Okay, so there may be this type of question is very important, that state any one of the constitutional provisions which is made for ensuring the safety, ensuring the freedom of the election commission. So in that you have to write this. Now we will come to understand the functions of the election commissioner. What are the functions which are given to the election commission by the constitution? The first important function is the preparation of voter list. And you must remember that this voter list is not something which is static, that once it is prepared, then it is forever. It keeps changing. New people turn to the age of 18. Then there are deaths of so many people. Then people used to transfer from one place to another. So it is very important that it should be updated. And the responsibility of making of this list and to make it up to date, all these responsibilities lies with the election commissioner and election commission. And one more problem is associated with voter list, that many times it is there are error in the voter list. Many times what we find that registered voters are not there in the list. Their name is not there in the list. And many times it also happens that the people who are not existing, who are not who are died, who are not living, or who are not eligible, who are not existing, still what we find that their name is there in the voter list. So preparation of voter list, making it updated, and making it free of error, all these are the prime responsibility of election commissioner. Because the basic thing, the most important, or we can say the base of the elections in India is the universal adult franchise. And this right to vote, which is given by the constitution to the people, will become meaningless if the voter list is not uh, if the voter list is faulty, if the voter list is not updated. So this is very crucial. Okay. Now the second thing, which is the second function, which is done by the election commissioner, is the determining of the timing of election, and then the preparation of the election schedule. You must have experienced that election in our country takes place in phases, in different phases: phase 4, phase 5, phase 6. Up to phase 6 is adopted by the election commissioner in order to conduct a smooth election in all over the country. So this is done by the election commission. And what is also included in election schedule, not only the voting time, the date of voting, but first of all, what is there, notification of election. The notification of election is released by the election commission. Then what happens that in if there is going to be election, then what happen, there will be contestants, there will be candidates who want to contest the election. And in order to contest the election, they have to file their nomination. And the election commission fix the date from which they can file their nomination. And also the last date is also decided, last date is also declared by the election commission to file nomination. Okay. Then after the filing of the nomination, what is done, it is just like a form. You in order to get admission in a school or in a college, we fill the form, admission form. Then we, after filling up the form, we submit it. And after submitting, what happens, the college authority or the school authority, the school office do scrutiny, everything is filled properly or not. And this type of scrutiny is also done by the election commission. And many times if there is some fault in the nomination, then the nomination is cancelled. Then there is also provision for withdrawal also. हो सकता है कोई candidate wants to withdraw his or her name from contesting the election, then there is a last date of withdrawal is also declared by the election commission. Then it declare the date of polling, and after the date of polling, there is a declaration of date of counting, on which date the counting will be done, and then the result will be declared. So all the whole process, starting from the election notification of election to the declaration of result, everything is decided by the election commission. So we can say that it is election commission who is the who is the deciding power in relation to elections. Okay. Now, during this entire process, the Election Commission has the power to take decisions to ensure a free and fair poll. It is the responsibility of the Election Commission to ensure a free and fair election. If in our country the election is not done in a free and fair manner, then who will be responsible for this? The responsibility lies with the election commission. It is his duty to ensure a free and fair election, and it is the right, it is the function, it is the right of the election commission that it can postpone or cancel any election in the entire country also, or in a specific state, or in a specific constituency, because of many reasons, such as there is the atmosphere is not suitable. Various kinds of unfair practices are going on in the country, or in a particular state, or in a particular constituency. Because of those unfair activities, the election it will not be free and fair, and on that basis the election commission can postpone or cancel the election of the whole country also. So the commission is really powerful. It besides, in order to ensure free and fair election, it also implement a model code of conduct. During the election period, all the political parties and candidates are supposed to follow this model code of conduct, which is how they should behave during the election, so that the free and fair election should not be hampered. If there is no restriction on the conduct of the parties or candidates during the election time, then what will happen? That they can generate an atmosphere under which the voters start giving vote in support of one particular political party. So, in order to stop this type of activities, in order to arouse people's emotion on the basis of religion or caste, all these things have been prohibited. So, model code of conduct is implemented by election commission, and it is also the function or the power of the election commission. It that it can repoll in a it can give order for repolling in a specific constituency if it feels that there are reports of such kind that in a particular constituency the election is not done in a proper manner, or some unfair practices has been used, or violence has been experienced in that constituency on the day of election. Then on the basis of these grounds, the election commission has the power to order a repolling. The polling which was held earlier, that will stay cancelled, and it can order a repolling. It can also order a recount of votes when it feels that the counting process has not been fully fair and just. It is it means that you just understand that the election commission is totally responsible for holding election in a free and fair manner throughout the country. It can order a repolling in a specific constituency. It can order a recount of votes if there is allegation that counting there are some unfair practices has been used in counting of votes. Something wrong has happened in the process of counting of vote. Then what is the function of election commission? It can order recounting of votes, फिर से वोटों की गिनती की जाए. So this is the system. This is the system, so that our elections should be free and fair. The most important thing for making democracy real is the and is ensuring free and fair elections. The Election Commission accords recognition to political parties and allots symbols to each of them. This is also one of the important function of Election Commission. It gives recognition to political parties. There may be political parties, national political parties. There may be state political parties. All these recognition, if they are fulfilling the criteria of being a national political party, then this recognition will be given by the Election Commission. And if they are fulfilling the criteria of being a state political party, then this will be given by the Election Commission only. And symbols are also given by the Election Commission. And in this, you must have must have heard many times that a particular party has divided into two parts. It has splitted, and then what happens that both the group, which were earlier a single party, now both these separate political parties. Now both these are separate political parties, and now both of them are claiming the symbol of the party. The one group is saying that they are the real party, and so they should have the symbol. They should be allowed to use the symbol of the party, and the other party also claims such things. And then in this situation, the decision is taken by the Election Commission. So these are the functions of Election Commission. The Election Commission has so many functions. We have seen that it has a wide range of functions, and but what we find that in order to do all these functions, the Election Commission has very limited staff of its own. It is not having a large number of staff in order to perform all these functions. What happens that what is the uh, system evolved by our done by our constitution makers is that the election commission will conduct the election with the help of administrative machinery. Whoever is working as the central government or state government employees, it is now it becomes their duty to perform the election duty. Now they, at the time of election, these employees become the employee of Election Commission, and they act according to the need, according to the work assigned to them by the Election Commission. So the moment the election process starts, the commission takes control over the administration, and all the election related work is done through this central and state staffs. Okay, during the election process, the administrative officers of the state and central governments are assigned election related duty. Okay, and the election commission has complete control over them. At the time of election, when the election process has started, at that time these officers of these staff of central and state government, they are not under their own department. Now they are working under the Election Commission, and Election Commission has complete control over these staff. He can give command, he can assign any duty to any of the staff. So this is the way the Election Commission functions. It does not have its own staff. It depends on the central and state administrative machinery. Okay, it also has the power at the time of election. It has the Election Commission has also the power to transfer the officers, and it can also stop the transfer. It can take any action against them for failing to act in a partisan manner, non-partisan manner. If any of the staff is acting uh, in a partisan manner. Partisan means the staff is acting uh, for the mm, purpose of fulfilling the objective of a particular party. It means he is not behaving impartially. He is behaving in order to make a particular party happy, in order to make a particular, in order to appease a particular party. And in this, what happens that many times the high officials want to appease the ruling party, because they know that if they will work according to the directions of the ruling party, and if this party again comes into power, then what will happen, that their position will be influential in the next government. So this happens, but our election commission uh, takes control of this kind of situation, and it can take any action against those staff or those officers who are not behaving in a impartial manner. Okay, so our experience tells us that election commission of our country has acted in a very independent and impartial manner, and it has emerged as an independent authority. It has used its power so that free and fair election could be done. So our constitution, our, if our democracy is successful, that is because of our free and fair elections. And if we are able to hold free and fair elections, that is because of election commission, independent election commission. So what we find that it's not that our constitution there some kind of change is done in the powers of the election commission. Election commission is having the same power which is given to it by the constitution originally. But what we find that in the last uh, 25 years, the election commission has become more independent, and now it is using its power in a more assertive manner. So why this difference occurred? Actually, what happened, that in our country there used to be the dominance of a single party, that was Congress, up to the year 1967. In all the all the state governments and the central government was formed by the Congress party only. After 1967, what happened, that in some of the states there started the formation of non-Congress party. And after 1989, at the center level also, we find that the dominance of Congress become very less. And what happened, that the other parties also started gaining importance. They also started winning seats in the Lok Sabha, and in this way, what happened, that the dominance of Congress reduced to such an extent that in our country, after 1989 started the coalition era. And this was the year I told you in the earlier discussion. In 1989, what happened, before the elections, the commission was made multi-member commission, and then again after the election it was again turned to single member, and then in 1993 it was again made multi-member multi-member commission. So all these political development, what was happening in our country, the dominance of कांग्रेस जब तक कांग्रेस का dominance रहा, in that period, the Election Commission was not able to use all its rights. It was not using its rights. It was not, we can say that it was not doing its function in an independent manner. But after this coalition era, we find that the commission has become more independent. It is still having the same powers, but now it is using those powers, and because of this use, our elections have become more independent, more free and fair, and the election commission has become more powerful. So this is good for our democracy. The first election took place in 1951, and from that we have experienced 16 Lok Sabha elections. Okay, and other than this Lok Sabha election, so many state assembly elections and by elections have taken place. And all these Lok Sabha election, state assembly election, by elections are conducted by election commission. Okay, so it's not easy to conduct so many elections in a country, in a large country of like India, which is not only large in size but also large in population. And it was the great responsibility of the election commission to hold a election, especially when first election took place. The EC, the election commission, faced many challenges, and it really worked in a very efficient manner. And up to now it is working in an efficient manner. In our country, there are many places like Assam, Punjab, Jammu, Kashmir, which are militancy affected areas. Their problem of terrorism is existing, and it is very, very tough, very, very difficult to hold elections at these places. But our commission is holding elections in these places also, and there are many time such situations arose when the commission has to postpone the election, and it does everything in an efficient manner. It was the election of 1991 when the election commission has to postpone the complete election process, because in it was the election was going on in phased manner, and in between the period, the then prime minister, not then prime minister, he was ex prime minister, Rajiv Gandhi, he was assassinated during campaigning. So, because of his assassination, what happened that the election commission has to postpone the election process, and all these things are not easy to manage. But our commission is managing these things in a very efficient manner. Then, again in the year 2002, what happens that Gujarat assembly election was to be held. Okay, and around that time, what happened that violence erupted in that state to such an extent that it had become impossible to hold free and fair election immediately, and so the election commission decided to postpone the election. And this decision of election commission was upheld by the Supreme Court also. The Supreme Court said that the commission has taken a good decision by postponing the election in Gujarat because of violence which is spread there, and because of this violence, there was not possible to hold free and fair elections. So, this is these are the functions of the uh, election commission. These are the role played by the election commission in order to make the election more free and fair. Now we will consider a new subtopic, that is reforms in the electoral process. Uh, though our constitution makers has make many provisions are and our elections are done in an in a fair and a free manner, everything is good, but nothing can be there can never be no scope of improvement. There is always a scope of improvement, and we find there are many problems which are associated with our electoral system. So we need to um, reform our electoral system, and about the problems and reforms we will discuss this in the in tomorrow's class. So this is all for today.